Okay, it's 5:30, so I'm gonna call the Ottumwa City Council meeting to order on this cold, blustery winter night. And I'm really glad to see a few brave souls come out for our council meeting. If everybody would rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Chris, will take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway. Here. Councilmember.
Here.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Here.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Here.
Councilmember Reed.
Here.
Mayor Johnson.
Here. The next item is to approve tonight's consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve? So moved. Second.
Could I ask a question on that?
Sure.
I was looking at the list of the balances on hand of the different accounts. And there's the pooled investments. Is that referring to the next page there, those monies that are listed there?
So the pooled investments, it offsets the balances of all the others. So, it's an internal counting, account, line item, or fund. And, it's, what it does is that it balances off the actual cash.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand.
Yeah, but it's an internal account that, again, like I said, it balances off the cash. So, yes, it would refer to the investments on the second page. I'm not sure if they're a one-to-one,
Right.
of
The
the
numbers
amount.
aren't exactly the same.
Yeah, numbers aren't exactly the same, but that's what it does refer to, is to those pooled investments. The way that, our investments are is that, we don't separate them by fund, so there isn't CDs for the general fund, CDs for produce tax. They're all just pooled together, and then, we distribute the interest based upon, the balance and the percentage of, a certain fund's balance against the total balance.
Right, that makes sense. Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions from the consent agenda? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway. Yes. Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Yes.
Councilmember Reed.
Abstain.
The next item is to approve our agenda for tonight's city council meeting. Is there a motion to approve? Motion to approve.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway. Yes. Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Yes.
Councilmember Reed.
Yes.
The next item is our city administrator's report to council and citizens. I'll turn it over to Phil Rath, our city administrator.
All right, thank you, Honorable Mayor. Following the last meeting, the city council received a letter raising a couple of concerns. The letter was timely as it related to a couple items on tonight's agenda. As there were a few items which were partially incorrect, I thought it might be beneficial to address those at this time to help provide context for the pending discussion and city council decision. In a few moments, the mayor will request a public hearing to the issuance of a sewer revenue note tied to the next phase of the sewer separation project. This project was initially approved to be funded through general obligation notes, which are backed by future tax levies. This project would be eligible to be backed by future sewer revenue and as such, a revenue bond. Further review of the option identified this as a better alternative for the project and the city as a whole. That led to a recommendation and revised option before the city council tonight. Sewer rates have not been updated for a few years, which is proposed as one of the other public hearings before the city council. A review of the rate structure, excuse me, a review of the current rates in comparison to the future operational needs and the proposed revenue bond payment structure identified the rate adjustment for the pending time period. There's not enough capacity to pay for the sewer debt at the current rate structure. Lastly, ordinances and other legislation could include sunset language when necessary. Recently adopted local option sales and service tax did that, which will prompt a future vote of the public to continue funding that funding source. That stated, city council is able to take up and potentially revise city ordinances when desired or necessary. A sunset clause is not required for that to occur. Similar to the loss, the local option sales and service tax, the franchise fee sunsets with the expiration of the franchise agreement. The city currently receives 3% of sales of gas and electric within city limits. That revenue is paid to the city from the respective utility as collected and without paying an administrative fee for that service. I hope that clears up some of the misconceptions related to the current requests that will be coming up in a few minutes. As with the last meeting, I want to just kind of highlight some of the current legislation that is either being presented or working its way through the legislature. One of the bills that is set as a priority by the league to kind of keep an eye on is Senate Study Bill 1118, which is the liability and responsibility of adjacent property owners for sidewalk maintenance. There is a Senate version of this is the Senate version of House File 192, which House File 192 advanced out of subcommittee on February 11th. The Senate version removes liability for injuries from the city, while also precluding the city from assessing fines against the property owner. The city is still able to address the safety issue and recoup the material and labor costs directly related to repair, replacement, or removal of a hazard. The league is in favor of that legislation and would prove to be positive for the city. Another one is House Senate Bill 154 and Senate Study Bill 1116, which is alignment of local government notice requirements, and that is set to standardize public hearing notices and actions to a range of 4 to 20 days. There's a House subcommittee meeting currently scheduled for February 19th at 12 p.m. That'd be tomorrow. Some legislation that is advanced since the last meeting, House File 38, entertainment districts, that has passed committee. That was one that would authorize cities to establish self-supported entertainment areas. That was something that could be positive for the city if passed. Senate Study Bill 1010, civil service reform, passed committee with amendment. The league is not registered on that. That's one where, again, it prohibits cities with the Civil Service Commission from establishing citizen review boards for police conduct and modifies procedures and standards for removal, discharge, promotion, or suspension of civil service employees. Senate Study Bill 1104, regulating consumer fireworks, has passed committee and has been renumbered to Senate File 303. The league is registered against. That would prohibit city councils and county boards from restricting or limiting use of consumer fireworks, display fireworks, or novelties on July 3rd, 4th, December 31st. Let's see, House File 157, special election procedure for city office vacancies, has passed subcommittee. That is for eligible electors of city to petition for a special election to fill a vacancy in an elective city office, only if the remaining balance of the unexpired term is at least 1 year. Let's see. Senate Study Bill 1094, prohibition of fire protection sprinkler systems in small residential properties, has passed committee with amendment and renumbered to Senate File 310. That would require state building code to prohibit the installation of fire protection sprinkler systems in residential properties with fewer than 7 units and prevents local regulations from requiring such installations in the smaller residences. House Study Bill 162, regulation of accessory dwelling units. That is scheduled for subcommittee, was today at 12. That would require cities to adopt ordinances allowing for accessory dwelling units. Some legislation of interest, which may make its way through or could. Senate Study Bill 1108, prohibition of landscaping design regulations, would prohibit aesthetic landscape design in commercially zoned areas. Senate File 272 talks about cancer screenings for MFPRSI. Would require public employers to include cancer screening benefits for eligible first responders and expands the definition of cancer to encompass a broader range of cancer types. That has a companion, House File 267, similar there. Senate Study Bill 1115, city utility approval procedures, would remove public hearing requirements and voter approval requirements for utility franchises, placing more control with city councils. Senate Study Bill 1114, prohibiting cities from imposing licensing fees on specific professionals that could limit permit fees to a maximum of $500 in the respective cases. Senate Study Bill 1117, imposing limitation to the annual increase in sewer service rates. That would cap the rates at the lower of 2% above or the percentage increase of CPI from the previous year for sewer fees year over year. House File 416, increasing financial penalties for governmental bodies who violate open meeting laws. That would increase financial penalties for governmental bodies who violate open meeting laws, increase damages from $500 to $2,500, and increase damages from knowingly committed violations to $5,000 to $12,500. It would also mandate a training course and meeting requirements for newly elected officials to be taken within the first 90 days of taking office. House File 294, library tax certification for cities. Would allow cities to impose a public library tax upon voter approval for up to 10 years. City Council could discontinue the tax by majority vote. Senate Study Bill 1095, prohibition of pet license fees. Prohibits cities and counties from imposing a fee for obtaining a pet license. Senate Study Bill 1087, public notice requirements for governmental meetings. It's a companion to House Senate Bill Study Bill 75, proposed by IPIB or the Iowa Public Information Board. It would require local governments in Iowa to provide clear and accessible notice of their meetings, including time, date, place, and agenda, through various methods such as notifying the media, posting in a designated visible area, and using their official website. I believe we're covering all of these thanks to our city clerk.
Yes.
Senate File 156, regulation of private spaces in public entities. Requires restrooms in public entity facilities to be utilized exclusively by individuals of the same biological sex as defined in the bill, and allow residents to file complaints with the AG or Attorney General for enforcement of non-compliant state agencies. And that is current update on legislation that may or may not make its way through.
Hey, Administrator Rath, to clarify, when you say the league, you're talking about Iowa League of Cities, correct?
Yeah, Iowa League of Cities put that out as far as bills that may be pertinent to cities or counties as they see.
Thank you.
Council have any other questions for Phil's report? Okay, if not, thank you. The next item is where I ask if there's any citizens who'd like to comment on any of our agenda items tonight, and we do have one individual that would like to speak on one of our agenda items later in our meeting, and then we also have another person that would like to speak under public forum, which is towards the end of our meeting. So I will call those folks up here when we get to those sections of the agenda. Is there anybody else that wants to speak on any agenda items tonight? Okay. We have 4 public hearings, so we'll get started with those.
This is the time, place, and date set for our public hearing approving the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the South Market Street Gateway project.
I'll go ahead and open the public hearing, and I believe Philip Bergmeyer is going to handle this item.
All right, so this project will construct and install 2 columns and an over-the-road truss and sign assembly with lighting. The columns are comprised of concrete footings with concrete block core walls with a brick and cast stone masonry veneers, cast stone caps, and an internal steel column to support the truss structure. Tile art will be installed as a separate project onto the columns. The trusses are approximately 10.5 feet tall and will span 70 feet across Market Street at a minimum height of 16.5 feet above the roadway. The gateway will be located at the north end of the Market Street Bridge. You guys heard a presentation about this last meeting, so I'm not going to rehash it. I just have the picture there to remind you what it's going to look like. I believe somebody from Legacy and Genius is here to answer any questions that you guys have that I can answer.
I just want to clarify something. So, as we all know, Facebook gets a lot of attention. So to clarify, money for this project is not taking away from roads and
No,
Ottumwa.
this is paid for by Legacy, so we're just administering the contract, but Legacy is funding it.
So to clarify, the city of Ottumwa is not funding this project. The Legacy Foundation is funding this project.
Correct.
So Councilwoman Galloway, could we just take that money and spend it any way we want?
We cannot.
We cannot.
we're just giving them permission to go ahead with the project, right?
Yeah, we're paying for them and administering the contract since it's being built on our right of way, but it's their project. It'd be like a utility coming in, putting up power poles in the right of way, but we're, I guess, a little bit different than that, but someone else is building it on our right of way.
Thank you.
Kelly Jenners is president of the Legacy Foundation is here. Kelly, would you like to make any comment or say anything?
No, I don't really want to add to what I had done at the last city council meeting, but if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer those for you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Philip? If not, I entertain a motion to close the public, yes, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this since it is a public hearing? I'm sorry, I didn't ask. Okay, if not, then I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Resolution number 25, 2025, approving the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the South Market Street Gateway Project. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 25, 2025.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing for the authorization of a loan agreement and the issuance of notes not to exceed 16 million sewer revenue capital loan notes to evidence the obligation of the city thereunder.
I'll go ahead and open the public hearing, and I believe Cole. This.
Yes, sir, thank you. When staff was completing the CIP analysis showed that local office sales tax could not support both phase 3 sewer separation loan payments and significant street maintenance. To meet the council's priority of street repair, the SRF loan for phase 3 will be shifted from general obligation to revenue bonds. Even though we could have issued them as general obligation bonds and paid them with sewer revenue. By doing this, though, we receive a little bit better interest rate. The SRF prefers a revenue bond versus a general obligation. As the loan was previously approved as GO, a second public hearing must be held and a second resolution adopted.
Does council have any questions for Cole?
Drill, drill, drill.
You don't drill, no, I don't drill a sewer. You dig a sewer. You drill, you end up with a lot of stuff all over.
I understand, you understood my reference anyway.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I guess, what's the downside of making that shift? Is there a downside to that?
No, well, the only downside would be that if the sewer revenue was insufficient in any one year, we could not, pay for it with, say, property tax, right? But if that were to occur, we would be looking ahead to see if there would need to be any adjustments in rates, or if there were other funds that we could use in order to, make up that difference.
Does council have any other questions for Cole? If not, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close. Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Resolution number 26, 2025, instituting proceedings to take additional action for the issuance of not to exceed 16 million sewer revenue capital loan notes. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 26, 2025.
Is there a motion to approve the
Move
recommendation?
the recommendation.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the authorization of a loan agreement and the issuance of notes not to exceed 550,000 general obligation capital loan notes to evidence the obligation of the city thereunder.
I'll go ahead and open the public hearing, and I believe Cole, you're gonna also handle this.
Yeah, I'm looking for a little bit, so. In the CIP, there are several projects for fiscal year 2026 that were not funded with the 2024 GO CIP issuance. Those projects were the depot flooring for $15,000, depot windows for $100,000, HVAC at the depot for $420,000, soccer complex equipment, $87,000, to paint the wave pool for $40,000 for a total of $662,000. While most of the projects could be delayed to other years, the soccer complex equipment must be purchased. It would be advantageous to borrow for all of the improvements rather than just the equipment. After a meeting with the Legacy Foundation, where staff was informed of a grant for the inclusive play space that would include the skate park, the timing of the grant is such that the project would need to be started in the current calendar year. The CIP has $300,000 programmed in the fiscal year 27 for the project. Staff recommends delaying the depot HVAC until fiscal year 27 and moving the skate park to fiscal year 26. The issuance would then be $15,000 for the depot flooring, $100,000 for depot windows, $300,000 for the skate park, $87,000 for the soccer complex equipment, and $40,000 to paint the wave pool for a total of $542,000. With fees, the total issuance would be close to $555,000. Using the estimated debt service schedule for Piper Sandler, the effect on the debt service levy is negligible due to other debt payments rolling off. The current projected levy is about 18 cents less for fiscal year 25 and approximately $60,000 less in tax dollars requested.
Does council have any questions for Cole?
You know, if we have anyone interested in renting the depot building once we get it completed?
We haven't sent out any feelers or anything else like that, so no, we don't. I think that some of the discussions we had would be once the improvements were there, to see if there was an interest in somebody operating it where you can rent space, but you would have a receptionist that could be at the front door to get there where you need to do to answer phones and take messages and things along that sort. But so that you could have, you might have 3 people renting 3 different offices, doing 3 different things, or you might have 3 people all for the same company or the same firm renting space and using the common areas. That is, would be a great idea to come to fruition, simply because you could use that as an incubator. Somebody could come in, rent that office space. Well, once they get large enough, they have to rent more space, or they move into a vacant building in the downtown area or somewhere else in town.
Kind of like Indian Hills does on their project at the airport.
Correct.
Have we had any time to sit down and figure what we'd have to charge per square foot to rent that building?
Not yet.
24/7?
Yeah, we have not even gotten to that point. Considering the fact that we don't know exactly the date that we're moving back into the city hall. So, once we get closer to that, then we'll start looking at what we'll need to do for that. What it is we can time the building improvements so that we're doing the HVAC, even though it's in fiscal year 27, that we're doing it about the same time that we're doing some of the other stuff, so that we're not having somebody already in there while we're tearing out windows and flooring and everything else.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions from council? Does anyone in the audience have any comments they'd like to make about this item?
I do have one more comment. There are two resolutions with this. The first one is authorizing the bonds, and the second one is authorizing the bonds, but also authorizing us to levy for that in fiscal year 26. Because we have not actually incurred the debt, we have to pass a resolution that sets a pre-levy and then submit that to the county auditor before April 15th, I believe.
If there's no other questions from council or the audience?
So with that floor work that you've got listed here, that would take care of that squeakiness in the floor up there.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
It's a dumb question, I know. There, for rental space, I mean, just for my own mind, isn't there the floor we're on, and then wasn't there a bottom that was feasible, or is that not?
Where the engineer,
Yeah.
engineering and public works are, yeah, there is space down there. I don't know how viable it is. I can tell you right now that, that there's spaces over there that, with the cold weather, that you're probably wearing a coat, no doubt.
Okay.
So I don't know how viable it is. What we're looking at is just that top floor. We can certainly do an assessment on the other spaces, see if there's.
Right, I understand, I just wanted to ask, I understand.
Yeah, but there is that space.
The train depot waiting space and office will not be available to us to do anything, right?
Where the depot is, or the actual train depot?
Right.
No, there are some discussions that need to be had with Amtrak, however.
Okay.
Any other questions from council? If not, entertain a motion to close the public hearing. So moved. Second. Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Resolution number 27, 2025, instituting proceedings to take additional action for the issuance of not to exceed 550,000 general obligation capital loan notes. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 27, 2025.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
Move the recommendation.
Second,
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway?
yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Resolution number 30, 2025, authorizing the issuance of 550,000 general obligation capital loan notes, series 2025, and levying a tax for the payment thereof. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 30, 2025.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
Move the recommendation.
Second. Cole, do you have anything you want to add?
No, again, this second resolution is just for the pre-levy.
Okay, if there's no other questions, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the proposed ordinance number 3239, 2025, amending the municipal code of the city of Ottumwa, Iowa by amending section 3114A entitled Fees and Charges Costs.
We'll go ahead and open the public hearing, and Cole, this one's yours too.
And I'll have some additional information outside of the council package, especially on Senate Study Bill 1117. In order to meet the council priority of street repair and maintenance, staff has recommended using local office sales tax revenues for that purpose. As a result, the SRF loan for Division 3 for the sewer separation will be paid from sewer fees. In order to meet the required coverage by the state, a rate increase is necessary. While not required by Iowa statute, staff is holding a public hearing on the increase as has been practiced in the past. The proposed ordinance would have a 6.5% increase starting July 1, 2025, and the same for the next 5 years. This increase would apply to the usage of base fee. Additionally, the ordinance requires that multi-unit accounts with one water meter be charged a base fee for every unit. This applies to multifamily units and trailer court lots. American Bottle Company has a specific commodity charge. The rates for this charge will also increase by the same percentages as the base and usage rates for all other users. Staff has sent a letter to ABC informing them of the proposed increase and the public hearing. ABC has also given the opportunity to contact staff directly. We have not had any contact from them, and I'm not sure if there's anybody in the audience from representing ABC tonight. A reminder, and also that letter was sent out 2 weeks before the last meeting. So, under a reminder, under the previous plan, divisions 4 through 6 were to be paid from sewer fees. This would have required a rate increase. The adopted CIP does have division 4 being paid from sewer reserves. The adopted ordinance must be submitted to the Iowa Finance Authority as part of the SRF loan certification, as the loan is now paid by sewer revenues. The original timeline had work on the project commencing in February, March. Having all of the readings of the ordinance at separate meetings will cause a start date to be pushed back by several weeks. A public hearing has been held, staff requests that the council consider waiving future readings and adopt the ordinance. That is entirely up to you, and I know that because of the increase, you may not be willing to do that. We are asking for that request at the council's pleasure. So some of the things outside of this, in talking with a couple of council members, they were wanting to know what the overall impact would be to certain size households. So I estimated that perhaps a single person household might use 3 units. 3 units is one unit is approximately 750 gallons. So 3 units is 2,250 gallons. An increase in the base fee would be $1.14, and the increase in the usage is 38 cents. So that's another $1.14 for $2.28 per month. If you take maybe a larger household, family of 4, they might use double the number, and they use 6 units, which is 4,500 gallons. Again, the base fee is increased by $1.14, usage increased by $2.28, and their monthly bill would increase by $3.42. I have put before you a revised ordinance that takes sets a rate increase out to 2034. 6.25% would be from fiscal year 26 through fiscal year 31, and then 4.25% thereafter. This is what was proposed as part of the analysis with Piper Sandler. Though the original ordinance, we just went through for 5 years. The reason why we are presenting this tonight is because there is Senate Study Bill 1117. In talking with various people that are closer to the legislature than we are, they have stated that this bill probably does not have legs, that it's probably not going to move forward. But what this bill basically does is it says that a city cannot increase rates in the aggregate greater than 2%, or the CPI for the Midwest, whichever is less. So if the CPI is 1.5%, that's the most you could increase it.
Is that inclusive of commercial as well as residential?
It's all rates.
Okay.
Thank you. Now, the reason why they don't think it has legs is because there are a number of cities that are under consent orders for sewer separation. There are also cities that are under consent orders for other items. I know of a city that just built a brand new sewer plant, and they are on a consent order for chlorides. It's something that they can remove, but they have no idea where to dispose of it because nobody will allow them to dispose of it, right? So they have to figure out how they're going to pay for that. But under this bill, we could say, okay, we're going to increase our rates more than that 2% or more than the CPI. This council would pass the ordinance, adopt it. The rates would go into effect July 1 of the year that it's adopted. And then we would be required to hold a public referendum, a vote, a special election, and ask the citizens to approve that increase. So this is after the rates have gone into effect. We can only hold a special election in September. So we're gonna have 3 months where we're collecting these fees. If the referendum fails, we have to rebate all that money back. Okay. Don't know why it is. Now, the reason why we're presenting an alternative ordinance to you tonight that takes this all the way out to 2034 is that within the bill, any planned rate increase effective July 1, 2025, or any debt incurred before July 1, 2025 is grandfathered in. So by taking this out, we're assured that at least until 2034, that we have the ability to meet our obligations for not only the debt that we're incurring with with phase 3, but also for 5 and 6, or at least partially for 5 and 6. So this gives us a little bit better opportunity. Now, again, I'm hearing from a variety of sources, including our legal advice on this ordinance, that it really doesn't have legs. There's too many concerns about cities being able to meet the necessary consent order. So if you want to consider the alternative, it's there. If you do not wish to consider the alternative, then we do ask that the previously presented within the packet be adopted.
So, Cole, this is like a preemptive strike to save money in the long run. And I will say, I don't want to play bad with the councilman. I was one of the councilmen. I wanted to educate myself, because I'll be honest, I didn't totally understand this, so I sat with Cole, who explained it very well, to get all the facts. And I know it may look like we may vote for an increase. I would just like to add is sometimes not only this decision, with other decisions, everybody out here and all the citizens, you can see the decisions we made. What you can't see is the choices we had. And that's unfortunate. So sometimes you're forced to choose the best out of three really bad choices. So you have to pick the best. But no matter which way it goes here, I am for the least impact on the citizens, the least impact. And I think Cole did a very good job explaining it. So some of those decisions are difficult when you're voting to raise something on something, because we understand money's tight for our citizens, and believe me, I lose sleep over it every night. Not just this decision, but others, to make this community better for our citizens. So, even when it's $1 or $2 raise on something, or even a 50-cent raise on something I think we all take I take extremely serious, because it adds up. So really that's all I had to say, and I do want to thank Cole for explaining it very well.
Thank you, Councilmember. And just so you know that the least favorite thing for any staff member to do is step up there and say, hey, we got to charge the citizens more. That is something that we fight every day not to do. Yes.
Cole, you mentioned a couple of times, some portion of this may not have legs to get passed.
Right.
Is it the portion that's in the book now, or what you're offering here, or both?
Okay, so what it is the legislation that could limit us in the future doesn't have legs, right?
Okay.
So what we're doing is we're saying the ordinance where that it only went out 5 years, right, is what's necessary at the beginning. After 5 years, we would come back and say, okay, we're going to need to now do an annual increase of 4.25%. What we have said is, in order to be a little more proactive, let's go out until 2034. And so that way it's adopted in case this ever does happen.
So we're protecting our citizens.
So what it is SSB 1117 would be applicable to either of the ordinances. It's just that we would be more proactive, say, on the revised ordinance presented tonight.
Okay, thank you.
I would just like to say that I met with Cole today myself to get a better understanding of it, and I did understand it a lot better, even though, like Bill said, we're kind of stuck. And I think the reason more people don't run for council is because we have to make tough decisions. And especially when you live in the community, I know a lot of people that when I leave here, it's like leaving when I leave at ball games, half the people mad at me, half the people ain't, and unfortunately in a job like this where there's not a whole lot of pay for the hours you put in, it's just something that has to be done. So this here, even though we don't wanna charge anymore, but we're still paying for stuff that wasn't done years ago is what it comes down to. And not too many people wanna talk about that elephant in the room, but we're trying to make it better for the least amount of cost as possible.
And to clarify too, so this will help, pay for phase 3 of the sewer separation and then 5 and potentially 4, 5, or 4 and 5.
Well, four, right now, four is planned to be paid for the sewer revenues. 5 and 6, we would have to go out for another loan.
Okay.
So the 16 million is for division 3, or, phase 3 loan, right? Phases 4, 5, and 6, right, are separate to that.
I'd like to make one more comment. A lot of people don't know, so I'm gonna say it for the record, that we spent $27 million last year on street and sewer, even though you can drive around certain areas and don't think that. And by holding back the traction that we're getting now, if we hold back more, then we're never gonna get caught up. It's gonna take us a long time to get caught up now, but this at least keeps the tracks going.
Which, and that's what I was gonna say too, and as we fix sewers, we also fix streets.
Correct.
So,
And the problem is not everybody's sewer under their street needs to be fixed.
correct.
Well, we do work carefully with the waterworks so that we and they know what streets we're gonna go after.
Correct.
So we don't tear up a street they've just put a new water system under and have to patch it all over again.
Correct.
You have the public, I would urge the public to take costs into account too. $27 million is a lot. I mean, that's a lot of money for the streets, but it doesn't do the amount of streets it did even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, even 3 years ago. I mean, it just doesn't, that's an enormous amount of money. It just, so, we have some great people thinking this out, doing the best they can with what they have.
So we have the sewer separation that I described as a ball and chain.
You're not
We
far
have
off.
to deal with. Is phase 6, is that the end of it? We say I'm trying to get an idea of how close to the end of it.
This is division 8, and there's 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Okay,
Do we have another division, Philip?
Yeah, so phase 8 has up to division 6.
Okay.
There's a division 9 for the airport,
okay.
and then there's also some stuff on the west end and downtown that may or may not be done. It depends on how many overflows we still have and whether it's necessary or not. That's the most expensive spot, so you're gonna save that for last. And if you can separate everything else out and not separate downtown, then you don't have to pay the exorbitant cost to tear up downtown streets, and you can just live with the 3 overflows that were allowed.
So to clarify, what percentage would you estimate is completed at this point? Just general idea, for 50%, 40%, 60%? How much of this long-term plan are we done now?
I'd say you're probably 2/3 done with the area, but you're not 2/3 done with the cost, because the cost goes up by 8% every year, easily with the construction cost.
And so that's why it's important to keep the momentum going on this, as the longer we wait, the more it does cost in the long run. You described well of what it's gonna cost for families and so on there, but how's it gonna affect these businesses? You've got it listed out here, but I'm not sure I'm
Well,
following.
the businesses are charged the same rate. So,
It's just that they use so much more. I'm sure.
well, the thing is I believe that the industries that use a heavy amount of water, also have their own treatment facility. So, JBS has its own treatment facility, so we don't charge sewer to them. A standard business, retail business, somebody on Main Street, they might be using somewhere near what is like I said, for a family of 4, right? They might be somewhere near that.
So American Bottling Company though,
They are different, because of the nature of the waste and what they're using. So we charge them a little bit more in order to be able to handle that.
so it's gonna be a fairly sizable increase for them.
Correct.
However, they did come back a few years ago with all the sugar they had in their waste going out, decided to put in their own, equipment to pre-handle that.
Correct.
Now, they still send us some material, but not near what they would have if they hadn't put in their own.
Correct. Yeah, they do have a pre-treatment, but, there is still they are a large contributor of certain, waste streams.
Up until we fixed the sewers, we didn't get hardly any of their stuff because it all went out through the walls. Now we fix it.
Any other questions from council? Since this is a public hearing, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this issue? If not, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second. Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Yes,
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Ordinance number 3239, 2025, amending the municipal code of the city of Ottumwa, Iowa by amending section 3114A entitled Fees and Charges Costs. Recommendation passed the first consideration of ordinance number 3239, 2025. And with this, I want to clarify if you are wanting to go with the one that's in the packet, or if you're wanting to go with the revised one that Cole gave you this evening.
That takes it out to 20.
Yes.
What's the wish of the council?
I would say we go out to, the revised one to 2034.
Agreed.
I would agree with that.
I agree.
I agree.
I just think that while it may not have steam today, we don't know what tomorrow brings.
There's been many times where I've been told something doesn't have legs up the legislature, the next thing I know is being signed by the governor.
Correct.
And the other consideration is we can always reduce it.
Correct. This can always be changed if we see that we have sufficient funds, we can always come back and lower it down a little bit.
Right.
Has that ever happened?
Well, what I will tell you is that because, we make really good predictions, no. But if it should ever occur where we are significantly over on the revenues, staff will certainly bring that in because we are very sensitive. Because, as I said, the thing that we hate most is coming up here and saying, hey, we need to charge the public more, but the thing we love best is coming up going, hey, we can save you money.
Okay, is there a motion then to approve the revised recommendation?
Move the recommendation.
Second. Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Was council's appetite to waive the second and third readings and pass and adopt, or you want three readings of this ordinance?
I would make a motion that we eliminate the last two readings.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
No.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Ordinance number 3238, 2025, amending the municipal code of the city of Ottumwa, Iowa by repealing and replacing section 25-114 as it relates to possession of tobacco by underage persons. Recommendation pass the third consideration and adopt ordinance 3238, 2025.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation? Motion to approve.
Second?
And I believe Chris is gonna speak on this item.
Yeah, this is the third reading of this ordinance, which, corrects our tobacco underage person from 18 to 21, so it matches state code, so. Didn't entertain any other questions, but.
Okay, if there's no questions, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Ordinance number 3241, 2025, amending City of Ottumwa, Iowa Code of Ordinances, Chapter 12, Elections, to adopt the nomination by petition manner of elections provided for by Iowa Code Chapter 45 for the City of Ottumwa city elections in accordance with Iowa Code Chapter 376, and thus cease holding city primary elections. Recommendation passed the first consideration of ordinance number 3241, 2025.
Is there a motion to approve the
Move
recommendation?
the recommendation.
Second.
I believe Chris should get us speak on this as well.
Get your ready again. All right, Iowa Code Section 376.6 subsection 1 requires that a primary election be held for city offices where the number of individuals for whom valid petitions have been filed is more than twice the number of positions to be filled, unless the city chooses by ordinance to hold runoff elections pursuant to Iowa Code Chapter Section 376.9. In lieu of primary elections, or a city chooses by ordinance to have candidate nominations made in the manner provided in either Iowa Code Chapter 44 or Iowa Code Chapter 45. Pursuant to Iowa Code Section 376.6 subsection 1, where a city chooses by ordinance to have candidate nominations made in the manner provided by either Iowa Code Chapter 44 or Iowa Code Chapter 45, neither a primary election nor a runoff election is required. So the City of Ottumwa, Iowa desires that candidate nominations for elective city offices be made in the manner provided in Iowa Code Chapter 45, and that the city not be required to hold either primary elections or runoff elections, in accordance with Iowa Code Chapter 376. Again, this is a topic we've discussed multiple times. This did come from legal, so Logan provided the revised ordinance that you have in front of you. If you have any questions, I know Logan could answer them, or I could answer them, or even our city administrator could answer them, so I would entertain any other questions you may have.
Does council have any questions for Chris? We do have one individual in the audience that would like to speak on this item. So at this time, I would call Peg Lazio to the podium and give your name and address, please.
I'm Peg Lazio, 2301 North Court. I am not in favor of eliminating the primary election for the city mayor and council. The primary gives us a chance to get to know each candidate. The interview by the courier is a help, but it's brief. More depth comes from hearing from the candidates as they speak about city operations. When you discuss candidates with others and read about them, one gets a better feel for how they will handle city elections or city challenges. The primary election puts the focus on the candidates and the issues that the city will face in coming years. It is the election where the only purpose is to get to know the candidates who are running for the government for the city for the next 4 years. There's a discussion of the government, there's discussion of the candidates, and more chance to hear how each candidate feels about the issues and how they will manage them. In a general election, there are additional candidates, such as state, federal, school board, judges, and other topics to be discussed. A primary election gives focus and time to hear the candidates' views. The cost of the election is about $10,000 every 2 years. Divide that by 2, it's $5,000 a year. This is an extremely small percent of the total budget for the year. Therefore, in closing, for these and other reasons, I support maintaining the city primary election. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I'd like to make comment on that same issue.
Go ahead.
To correct some of the information, the primary election in 2019 cost $11,417. In 2021, it cost $13,607. And in 2023, it cost $14,320. I might tell you that all these people who ran in primary were the same people that were elected in the general. So there was little or no difference, other than the fact it cost us several $1,000s more. I think, it's just very important that we conserve dollars anywhere where it doesn't hurt the public. And I do not believe that there's any damage to the candidates. Have plenty of time to talk about their issues and meet with the citizens of the city. I can tell you also, if we have a primary, the general election is only 4 weeks apart. And it is in many cases difficult, if at all possible, to get all the ballots printed and ready for the early election on time. The time for certification and ballot printing is too close. Therefore, it shortens the voting time for the general election. This information comes directly from our auditor here in Ottumwa, and I might mention that this issue only pertains to city elections, has nothing to do with county, state, or federal elections. Thank you, Your Honor.
Any other comments or questions from
Just have a
council?
Point of clarification, you said that, so those were the primary costs?
Yes, ma'am. Turn the piece of paper.
I appreciate it, thank you. That was my question.
So, my initial thought, when we first started talking about this a couple weeks ago and so on, was, that I like the primary idea. I feel like it was mentioned that, well, not having a primary gives more opportunity for people to be known. I don't agree with that. I think it gives less opportunity. Now, people with a high name recognition will be, they're already somewhat known, but somebody who has a low name recognition has a steeper hill to climb. Human nature shows that we will not, it's up to any person. You can start talking to Ellis on the radio or whatever, anytime you want to, but there's a tendency to not really get going on things until it gets certain distance away, that's just been, but the thing that bothers me is the low voter participation. That's the problem I have. I like the idea of the primary, but these people aren't gonna really use it. And the people I've talked to don't seem to really have a concern one way or the other. They don't really seem to, have a strong opinion one way or the other of the different ones that I've talked with. So that's just a concern that I have, is somebody who's not very well known, they're gonna have a harder time being known and their ideas out there. But that is really up to them. They can do more to make that happen.
Not yours, it's a lot of fun.
And we will have 3 readings of this too, so.
Right, and I'd like to make one comment. I respect what Councilman said. I see it a little bit different way. I can kind of see it both ways, but for someone who's unknown, I believe it does give them a little bit more of a chance, because they could be in the public eye more. Not only that, but part of my reasoning for transparency is the cost to the candidate. It's hard to get good candidates in. And if you've never ran before, you gotta understand there's cost of signs, cost of campaigning. When I ran myself, I'll be honest, I didn't know whether to get signs right away. I didn't know whether to wait till I get past the primary. What do I do? Now, fortunately, I had some very good help, sitting in the audience today with some good advice. But that is an issue, I believe. And I also believe in, I know I'm not the only one that believes this way, is the best candidates, the candidates who the citizens see as the best, I still believe will rise to the top. The good positive candidates, so. I agree with a lot of what Councilman Reed says, so I'm not disrespecting what he says by no means. And this is something we could always change too, if voter turnout got higher, went higher, so.
The only comment I guess I'd like to make is a lot of times, if a person's candidate doesn't get through their primary, then they can always come and vote at the general election. And by doing away with the primary, I think you'd hopefully see a huge increase in people coming to the general election.
Right.
And from personal experience, I agree with what Councilman Hoffman said. if you don't know if you're gonna make it through the primary, a lot of times candidates won't even invest in buying the signs that are pretty expensive. And this gives people a lot longer time to get known in the community. If they start campaigning in the spring and they've got till November, they've got plenty of time to get out there and let the people get to know who they are and what their issues are.
And not only that, this sounds weird, I know it's gonna sound weird, but it gives you more of an opportunity, because when you're running as an elected official, and I don't mean this a joke, inevitably, you're gonna say something dumb. And it lowers the window for you to reprocess and say what you really meant to say. And I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but you know, when you're running, as an elected official, and you know, the League of Women's Voters are forums, it's wonderful that you're getting questions shot at you, you know, the public's asking you questions, staff's asking you questions. You get a lot thrown at you at one time, and you just kind of have to jump into it. So I think, like the mayor said, a lot of this stuff would ease some of that burden for candidates.
The only other comment I guess I'd like to make is that I think City Clerk Chris Reinhardt had said last year, this isn't something new that's just been brought up. There's several cities in the state of Iowa that have already done away with primary elections that have not found any negative results by doing away with primary elections. So there are several cities in Iowa that, as a cost-saving measure, they have done away with primaries, and we're not aware that there's been any ramifications or that they've changed their mind and went back to doing primary elections.
Mayor, do we know if is that the majority of cities, 50-50, where, do we have an idea on that? Do you have a general percentage idea?
I don't, because it's not, I would have to go into each city and find it, which they do. It would take a little bit of time, but I could do that if you'd like me to.
I think that has to do with the size of the city. The smaller the city, the less likely they are to have a primary. And I would just mention, when I ran the last time, 2023, we actually had to have a primary because of the ruling, because there were 5 people elected to run, or chose to run. But the 5th person refused to show up any place, anytime. In fact, he refused to even show up for the League of Women's Voters, which they work very hard at an opportunity for all candidates to speak. And so I think that the reason that person put their hat in there was to make sure there would be a primary. The only way we can avoid that is to eliminate it.
So I guess all I would say is that the last time that this came up, there was, for me, I received a lot of calls and emails regarding a primary. And, to date, I think the only thing I've heard, in regards to maintaining it is from, Mrs. Lazio today. So I haven't had the calls or the, emails that I had in the last time this came up.
Any other questions for Chris? Okay, if not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh,
Yes,
Councilmember Reed.
Yes.
Creation of a gateway entrance sign at the intersection of Romer Avenue and South Walnut Avenue. Recommendation authorize city staff to work with partnering entities to design and construct a gateway sign on the proposed site.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
Motion to approve.
second,
Okay, Phil, I believe you're gonna take this.
Yes, Harold Mayor, I know Andy Mall was here also to provide any insight, and I think he just stepped away for a moment, so I will do my best. During a recent meeting to discuss wayfinding signage throughout the city, it was identified that every entrance into the city had a sign except the route coming in from Romer Avenue. A suggestion was made to utilize city-owned property for that project. And in the packet, there was a sample sign that was included for review to get an idea of the concept. And also a map of the area that was being looked at, which was on the corner of Romer Avenue and South Walnut Avenue. And I know that, this is something that was going to be funded, through, legacy funding. And was looking at, trying to contract with a local artist, to come up with, an idea. Not necessarily exactly like the one that was in the picture for agency, but something along those lines. It would have a landscaping, feature along with, a public art piece to kind of help add some, visual appeal to that area and provide an entrance, into the city. And I think this is about, a quarter of a mile from Main Street area. And Andy is back.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was just kind of highlighting the project, what we're looking at, on South Walnut and Romer, and working with a local artist to help come up with a concept that would incorporate landscaping as well as public art feature, and provide an entrance from that part of the city or into that part of the city. And I think it's about a quarter mile from downtown,
Yes, yeah, maybe a little more,
a little bit more.
maybe, yeah.
But it kind of help provide that entrance into that area and the downtown.
Yeah, so, wow, you just really covered it for me. But yeah, basically, so we did a program, over the last 2 years called West End Ignited. And it's like a neighborhood revitalization program, that has a lot of different facets to it. And while we were looking at moving to the east end of Ottumwa, we were looking at projects that we could do to help beautify this area. And one of these things was, there is no gateway entry piece for people who are coming into town on East Main Street. And doing some drive-throughs in that area, you notice this particular property that's in your packet. And it almost looks like it was built to hold a feature of that likeness. And so it was pointed out that there's what looks to be a very nice structure just outside agency. And that was actually a very affordable piece of work that they did. And so we have engaged with some folks to talk about what that would look like and what we could do in that area to welcome people to our community.
I like the sign coming in from the west on Highway 34, the sign that was put there, that's a nice sign, but you're not really thinking of that design and style, you're thinking of something quite a bit different at some.
Yeah, an actual like structure, like on the north side and on, the west side as you're coming in from the Alvia direction, there's a bigger, sort of monument sign, whatever. Nothing of that capacity, obviously, but something a little more pronounced that says you're here. On West Second, I don't think there was really, West Second, that piece of land that really stood out as an opportunity to do something along these lines.
But I guess I like the idea of, boy, you come in from Alvia, that, from the west, that sign you've got there. I think that's a nice one.
I can't remember who paid for having those put in, but they were not in. They were fairly expensive.
Right, I don't know about those, I'm referring to the one that there's an image of in your packet at agency. I think they spent about $10,000 to do that project. Now, that was a number of years ago. We have a budget of about $20,000 that we're working on to complete a welcoming piece of that in that area that we're looking at.
Yeah, there's one out north coming in on 163 or whatever that street is now, by the golf course. And then, of course, there's that one on the south coming in from the west, and one on the south coming in from the south, I believe. So, well, we're tickled to death that you're thinking about it.
All right. Any other questions for me?
Yeah, I just want to clarify. So this is a project again that Legacy is going to be funding.
Yes.
Okay. So this funding is not coming from the city of Ottumwa, and it cannot go to roads, correct?
That's true.
Darn, you don't have to ask that.
Yes.
Council have any other questions for Andy?
Thank you.
You got a timeline on that?
This year, I'd like it done this year.
That's fine.
We're still very early in the process, starting to engage with the folks that did the piece in
agency as well as another local artist to see what we can get for pricing and
Okay,
so very early in the process.
thank you.
I just have one last comment. I just want to thank Legacy for all the time and effort and funding that they continue to commit to our community because they truly are really helping us step it up. And without them, we would not be where we are today. So I really appreciate all the work that you all have done.
Thank you.
I agree as well. So the first step of the process is to get authorization for this site and to be able to place the structure on this particular piece of land.
If there's no other questions, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh,
Yes,
Councilmember Reed.
Yes.
Consideration of a state and community highway safety grant fiscal year 2026 application to the Governor's Traffic Safety Bureau. Recommendation approve the grant submission and authorize the mayor and chief of police to sign the application and contract upon receipt.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I believe Police Chief Farrington is gonna speak on this.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Since 1988, the Ottumwa Police Department has partnered with the Governor's Traffic Safety Bureau, seeking a grant to pay for patrol people overtime for special traffic enforcement projects. We also use that to buy traffic safety equipment. So this year, we're looking FY 26, looking for $30,000 and a portion of that to pay for a LiDAR and 2 moving radars.
Council have any questions for Police Chief Farrington?
I don't know what LiDAR is.
So a LiDAR is basically a radar unit, but it uses a laser. So you can get much more pinpoint accuracy and at a far greater distance than standard radar that uses waves.
Makes sense.
you vote for this? Yeah, well, the rest of you
Sure, I'll be contributing. Any other questions for Police Chief Farrington? Okay, if not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh,
Yes,
Councilmember Reed.
Yes.
Okay, next we'll move into resolutions.
Resolution number 23, 2025, accepting the work as finally complete and approving the final pay request for the 2024 street patch repair program. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 23, 2025.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
Move to approve.
Second. I believe Philip Bergmeyer is gonna handle this.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So this project was a unit price contract for a concrete panel and curb replacement on selected streets. Work consisted of full depth saw cutting, pavement removal, and placement of concrete patches. Targeted areas address panel failures and faulting and settlement issues. It's got some, this is not all inclusive, just a few examples of the type of work. So this is on Wildwood Drive. This is an example of a street that was in pretty good condition, but it had a few cracked panels. So we try to target these newer streets because one or two cracks there can, once those panels start moving, they'll start cracking other panels around them. So we try to hit them early. So that's one on Wildwood Drive. Next one. This was Hamilton Street. This is the gate from the middle school parking lot going out. It was in really bad shape. The rest of the street was in pretty good shape, but it was so heavily used. We tried to keep the really heavily used streets in a little better condition. And then other common areas that we have to hit are manholes and intake box outs. A lot of times it's the pipe. You see that each of these has an intake across the street from each other. And if you don't compact that trench exactly perfectly and it either settles more than the surrounding street or settles less, you'll get a crack above it. So those are just typical areas where you have to patch a street. I think that's the last picture. I have any more questions on this? There's a change order on the project for $8,527.16. That was just for quantity overruns. We patched more street than what we originally had, but there was money in the budget for it, so.
So this would be finalizing the final payout, correct?
Yeah, final payout, yep.
Which shows $15,843.64.
Correct.
Any other questions for Philip? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Resolution number 24, 2025, accepting the work as final and complete and approving the final pay request for the 2024 asphalt street repair program. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 24, 2025.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to approve the
Move
recommendation?
the recommendation.
Second. Okay, Phil.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So this project, our annual asphalt street repair program, which started in 2003 and is used to set unit prices. The work consists of overlaying various streets in the city. Again, this is hopefully the last time I have to explain this. I'm going to kind of change the program next year. But what we do is we set prices for different size streets at the beginning of the year, and then we'll set the streets later. And so the contract amount and change orders aren't really indicative of what we anticipated doing and what we ended up doing. We'll set the prices for there's like 6 categories of scarification. There's like 3 categories of street depending on the size, how many square yards and how many tons of asphalt they have to use on it. So this is just like, it sets the unit prices, and we don't anticipate spending the $1.5 million in the contract. Going forward, we're going to plan the streets ahead of time before the contract goes out. It'll give the contractor more certainty in which streets are doing and where they're at, so that we'll hopefully get a little bit better pricing that way. So anyway, I said that just to tell you that the original contract amount was $1,534,812.50. The change order was for a negative $968,365.95 for a new contract amount of $566,446.55. Less previous payments of $538,124.22 gives a final amount due to North Asphalt Paving of $28,322.33. The streets we did this year, it was on the east end. Most of the rest of the streets in this area have been done yesterday, but they're still in pretty good shape. And East Main Street was almost undrivable. So we figured we have an area of houses that have a pretty good road system, but the only way in and out is on this road that just is not in very good shape. Decent amount of traffic, between 1,000 and 1,300 vehicles per day, the traffic count on it, so pretty heavily traveled street. You wanna go to the next page? Show what we did here. We replaced, there's part of the street was curb and gutter and part of it was ditched. So on the curb and gutter part, they put asphalt curbs on there before, and those have been deteriorated and fell out. So we replaced those with concrete curb and gutters. We set the street part of the curb and gutter even with the, part of it was concrete, part of it was brick. So even with the bottom of the new asphalt, next slide. This is the brick part of the street. They're milling it right here. Brick was actually in really, really good shape. Hardly any patches in it at all. And I mean, it used to be a highway, so that's pretty good life for those brick streets. It was, I think, 18 inches of treated sub base and 2 layers of brick on there. Next one, you can see this is part of it that was concrete. They started paving the left side of the picture. This is right where the curb starts, like on the shadow. You can't quite see it in the picture, a little bit too small, but it's ditched where we're standing at, and you go out, and that's where the new concrete curb and gutter started. And then there's a little bit here where Main Street turns into Brick Row that we fixed that up too. Got some drainage issues fixed on that. So that's the project.
Council have any questions for Philip?
So just to clarify, how, again, I have the numbers in front of me, but just for the people who don't. So how much did those projects that you just showed us with this program, how much did it cost us?
$566,446.55.
So
That's for roughly a quarter mile of street, just over.
perfect, that's what I was gonna ask.
Well, actually, we did a little bit on Herman at the end of that picture. You saw the road going north. So that was included in there too, so it's a little bit. a little more once you included that.
So about $500,000, or a little bit more than $500,000 for a little bit more, or a little bit more than a quarter mile of street.
Yeah, probably close to a half mile there, once you had it all, for 2 lanes wide too. So, and that should last easily 25 years.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman, Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed.
Yes.
Resolution number 28, 2025, authorizing fiscal year 25 second quarter transfers as submitted by finance. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 28, 2025.
A motion to approve the recommendation.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, Mr. O'Donnell.
These are the quarterly budgeted fund transfers for December 31st, and we are required by law to pass them by resolution. I'll approve them by resolution before I can make the transfers.
Council have any questions for Cole? Not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed.
Yes.
Resolution number 29, 2025, authorizing the purchase of 5 MSA self-contained breathing apparatus for the fire department in the amount of $51,780. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 29, 2025.
Is there a motion to approve the
Move
recommendation?
the recommendation.
Second.
Okay, Fire Chief Canto, it's all yours.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Mr. Rath. I'm here this evening to request, as mentioned, was for the amount of $51,780 for 5 additional self-contained breathing apparatus, which is our SCBA. This is the system that our firefighters use on a weekly basis as part of their protective gear. These packs allow our members to breathe clean air when entering a dangerous environment such as a structure fire, or utilizing it in a car fire. And the good thing with these air packs is one that is that it's already the system that we're using. So the parts are interchangeable, the masks are the same. With this purchase, we are getting a free cylinder, the extra bottle that goes on the back of the air pack. They are NFPA certified, they are OSHA certified. We were able to make this purchase and working with fiscal through our franchise fees, which are utilized also for public safety. How I recognize that we needed these, that our incidents, our large incidents, our structure fires, we do callback. So we bring off-duty members back to the scene. However, our trucks currently only carry a certain number of air packs. So at a couple of fires since I've been here, we had members on scene that were there, but unable to go to work because we didn't have enough SCBA for them to wear, which again affects our efficiency and our effectiveness in serving the community. So I brought this forward and making sure that we could get 5 additional air packs that we could put on one of our trucks. And when we have members that respond back, we're able to utilize them in the best way possible. So I ask for your approval this evening.
And you estimate how many additional air bottles or filter bottles would be required in a year's time?
Well,
One pack?
Well, the good news is that each pack comes with 2 bottles, and we also have the capability. We have a trailer that we're able to refill them on scene. So those bottles are refillable. They're also interchangeable with the current packs that we have as well.
You got all the good answers. Thank you.
Thank you.
How many do you have now?
So on each apparatus, there's 4. So currently we have 4 on each piece. So we have an engine, there's station 2, they have 4. Our station 1 has the tower and the main engine there. So there we have 12. And then our engine 3, which is our reserve piece, has 4. So we have 16 packs. So on duty, if nobody's off, we have 9 people. If you have another shift. So for example, if the first platoon's on duty and the second platoon comes in to assist, you could have 18 people on scene. The fire on Church Street, for example, went to a 3rd alarm, so you could bring actually 9 more people back and have 27 people on scene. So very quickly, what we encountered was running out of air packs.
How long does it take you to refill a cartridge?
You can refill it. You're supposed to do it within like a 2 to 3 minute ability. The problem is you don't want to heat that air pack up because it's made of carbon fiber. And so you don't want to heat them up obviously too quickly. They can be filled in about 2 to 3 minutes.
That's pretty quick.
But we have extra cylinders. So the good news is you take the extra cylinder off the truck, you put it in the air pack, they go back to work. The bottle that the cylinder has been expended, you then take and get that filled. So it's kind of a swap. You're doing a little bit of a ballet there, making sure that it's getting done.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Fire Chief Canto? If not, this will take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Definitely yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution number 32, 2025, removing special assessments applied to 901 Queen Anne, contained on resolution number 199, 2024, and 200, 2024, totaling $1,306, including administrative costs and interest. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 32, 2025.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Simonson.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. The city acquired the property at 901 Queen Anne in December of '24. Prior to acquiring the property, we did some nuisance abatement and mowing throughout the year of 2024, and that cost totaled about $1,300. And we had previously assessed that cost to the property with the expectation that if we didn't acquire the property, then that assessment would, be the responsibility of the property owner to recover those costs. Since then, we did require the property. We accepted bids on the property, advertising it for sale free and clear. And we received the highest bid was $17,200. And we're prepared to have a public hearing at the next council meeting to execute a purchase for that. We do want to honor, our providing that property free and clear. So we wanted to remove those special assessments that had been previously applied in December, before we acquired in December. So this resolution would just remove those assessments, and then the new owner would take responsibility for it. After the next council meeting, they'd pay us $17,000, and then they would begin with rehabilitation of the property.
Council have any questions for Zach?
When we absorb that, do we get to take a credit of any kind for it?
I don't.
It would seem to me like if the buyer wanted to include that in their purchase price.
The buyer bid,
Separate unit.
we're really satisfied with the bid. The second highest bid was $11,000. And I think that, if we'd advertised,
I'm not.
go ahead and add $1,300 to the bid.
I'm
we
not
would-
arguing $17,000.
Yeah,
My point is, he could have said, including whatever's against it, and we could have been home free, so.
we could have advertised it that way. But, we think it's a little more straightforward this way. It's easier for the bidder to have it with a free and clear title and to trust, the process that we've done before. And, if we weren't satisfied with the price, then we'd look at something different, but, the bid's more than adequate.
Okay, thank you.
We might do
Not only
it.
that, I might be looking at it wrong. I wouldn't want a new owner to incur the cost others, you know what I'm saying, like other rivals. Plus, if we can get another piece of land beautiful with them taken care of.
I appreciate that the city's always wanting to, if somebody will take a property and use it and make something of it, we want to give them every benefit, every opportunity we can.
Especially with the good price of that too.
Any other questions from council for Zach? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Resolution number 33, 2025, approving service agreement with iWorks for additional data storage for the permitting and code enforcement software program. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 33, 2025.
Motion to approve the recommendation.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Okay, Zach.
All right, thank you, Mayor. The Building and Code Enforcement Department and a little bit too, the city clerk's office uses iWork. It's a software program that we use for permits, licensing, and code enforcement cases. And we use it every day in the department to review, bill, track permits. We also track all of our code enforcement cases here. The software costs us $15,000 a year, but we reached the limit on how much data we can store on that. We have 100 gigabytes that we store. on the cloud that they maintain for us. We're kind of at a standstill a little bit because we don't have that storage. We're having to save photos on the computer and wait until we can upload them, which means on the public portal they're not available. We're now not able to upload any of the letters that we send out either. So if somebody's out of the office and the clerk gets a call about a case, she can't pull up the letter and answer the question. She has to just take a message and get back to people. So we kind of negotiated for a while with iWork on the language of the contract. We were able to get satisfaction at least there. So this would increase the price from $15,000 a year to $15,500, but it would double the storage that we have available to 200 gigabytes.
So it goes from 15,000 to 15,500?
Yeah.
So for the extra 500, we get like triple the efficiency?
Double.
We get to go back to being as efficient as we
But
were.
we can use our staff more efficiently. It's easier for our staff.
Yeah, it'll be, we've been waiting a while because we had to go back and forth on some legal stuff. It's a software license agreement, so it gets really nitpicky. So we've been without this data for a couple of months, and it's really been a challenge.
What
So
would it cost to get additional amounts of storage beyond what you're talking about here?
Yeah, we could have tripled and gone for an extra $1,000 a year. I think we're gonna keep a better eye on it, but I don't think it's worth paying for that. We've had this software for at least 5 years now, and I wouldn't pay the extra 1,000 until we get, or the extra 500 until we get closer to needing it, or.
It makes good sense, thank you.
And the company we've worked with, so they'll negotiate with us anyway, again, I would say probably right.
Right, and probably by the time all that would come about, we might be in the market of shopping for some different, just to make sure we still have the best product too.
Any other questions for Zach?
I would motion to approve.
You've already got that.
Oh, well, then.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway? Yes. Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
All right.
That was before the sentence.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you down there.
You're fine.
Resolution number 34, 2025, approving change order number 1 for the purchase of a new combi oven for the Bridgeview Center. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 34, 2025.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
Move the recommendation.
Okay, Philip, I believe you're gonna take this.
Yeah, so the resolution would authorize a change order to add the auto dose system to the purchase of the kitchen equipment approved at the last meeting. Martin Brothers provided the best quote at $46,748.90, and City Council approved that funding up to $60,000 for the equipment in a prior capital bond. Change order would increase the price to $49,079.54, a difference of $2,330.64. Request would provide a more efficient system for cleaning the new equipment. And the reason this is before you, I know it's only about $2,300 increase, but we had a resolution that set the price cap at $46,748, and with the change, wanted to make sure that you were on board with that. It is under the $60,000 that was previously funded. And I know Scott is here. If there's any questions specifically about what this auto dose system is and what that would do for the more efficient cleaning of the oven. And I believe.
Bill, does this piece of property belong to the city or is this part of the Bridgeview program?
The property is city equipment. So it's being purchased for use by Venue Works and the kitchen system. But the equipment that gets purchased is property of the city.
And are we trading in what we have now? Or is there any trade or resale?
I defer to Scott on that and the current value of the equipment and what would be done with any of that.
Scott, you ought to come up.
We will be moving some items on our cook line and adjusting that. There will be an old steamer that is pretty much near end of life, but we will try and sell that on govdeals.com to at least see if there's any dollars that we can recoup off that. So that will come out because this will take the place of that steamer, in addition to lots of other things.
Okay, good, thank you.
All right. Any other questions I can answer?
Cause you've never had this kind of oven before, correct?
Nope, this is new.
Any other questions from council for Scott? Okay, if not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed.
Yes. Okay, the next item on our agenda is a public forum.
Whether during a public hearing or public input period, in order to hold an orderly meeting hearing, we ask that you step to the podium when you are recognized by the mayor and state your name and address into the microphone. This is an opportunity for the public to address city council on any subject pertaining to council action scheduled for today. We ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes to allow sufficient time for all those interested in speaking to ensure all other agenda items receive attention in an efficient manner. We now open the public forum portion of the agenda. We invite anyone from the audience who has completed a citizen input request form, residents, property owners, and business owners who wish to address the council on any subject, as with the earlier public comment period. At this time, we are here as a council to listen. Council cannot deliberate on any items brought to their attention during the open forum. However, they can request that your item be placed on an upcoming agenda or connect you with the appropriate city personnel to assist. As a reminder, city council members and city staff are accessible before or after meetings.
Okay, at this time, I call Mr. Tom Lazio to the podium.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, staff, members of the audience. I'm coming tonight to ask that we perhaps plan for a work session in the near future to discuss a letter that was sent out by City Administrator Mr. Rath on 2/14/25, which gave a very good overview of a meeting held January 27th, talking about ambulance services and indirectly EMS services for the county. I think the letter, you all received a copy of that, so you know what I'm referring to. I think you need to have some history, though, that the ambulance service has been provided by the Ottumwa Regional for over 44 years. And unless I'm mistaken, there's been very few complaints about this actual service that the city has received. The letter did talk about having a city-county work session, and I would suggest that that's not adequate. You need to have city, county, you need to have the hospital who runs the service. You probably should include emergency management services, and I would suggest Indian Hills. They do a lot of training of our medical personnel. I think it's only fair to say if you don't have all the parties at the table, you won't get the complete picture. We are also finding that the Ottumwa Hospital has made tremendous progress in the last couple of years. Most of you know the current administrator, Mr. William Kiefer, is leaving this week. He is being replaced by Michael Colbert, a very experienced CEO. And I think you all need to get to meet him and learn a little bit about him and what he wants to do in his tenure as the CEO. I would suggest to the council and to the staff that we really need to look at a comprehensive system that provides quality services. And the only way that's gonna happen is with a public-private partnership. Can't do it by ourselves. I don't think the city wants to take on the responsibility and the financial liability of providing ambulance services. I know the county doesn't. I was at their meeting this morning and they were dealing with the same budget issues you are. Not enough money to go around for current services, let alone adding additional services. So I would hope that maybe in the month of March, we could have a public meeting where we would have all the invited parties, council being certainly invited to that, and some citizens, because it's certainly going to affect the people in this community, both city of Ottumwa, but more importantly, I think the Wapello County citizens too. So with that, I would defer to city administrator in terms of picking a time that's good for you as a council and the staff. And I think it could be held either here at Ridgeview or Indian Hills or some neutral site where it would be a good chance for people to express the complete picture. And I would refer to the fact that Mr. Tim Richmond has done a good job of giving you a historical overview. And if any of you want that, I can get a copy of that for you. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Tom. Is there anyone else in the audience that wanted to speak on any non-agenda items tonight? Okay, we'll move on to mayor, city council report and communications. Does anyone have any communication that they'd like to give to the public?
I just want to encourage everyone to come out to Battle of the Brushes, the Ottumwa Area Arts, Council, thank you. Throws a fundraiser and, our mission is to bring public art to everyone. And so Battle of the Brushes is Saturday at the Hotel Ottumwa, and you get to watch people compete and paint, and it's a lot of fun, and, please come out.
I didn't hear the location. Where's that at?
Hotel Ottumwa, 6:00.
Thank you.
Any other communications that council would like to make to the public?
I just have a couple minutes, just a minute or two for my board. The water board, I just got word from Tim that unit 2 at the hydro, they're gonna try to start construction on 2/24. So, it's coming up quick to start what was promised. Also, I just want to give a quick shout out to the water, the people on the street there. They've had 24 main breaks in the last little section of time here. 13 of those were after hours. So imagine being 10 below zero in a hole filled with water at 2 in the morning. So a shout out goes to them. They're always wonderful and they're passionate about what they do. Real quick for the library, I just want to give them a shout out. They're doing some really engaging things in the community. And last board meeting I went to, and I should have said this before, but the water board and the library. The library is such a joy to go to that board meeting. Never once from those board members have I heard, what can we do for the library? It's what can we do for the community? What can we do for the citizens? And it's just outstanding to hear that they come up with all kinds of ideas to engage older citizens, younger citizens, citizens in the middle. And it's just fantastic to listen to them and really care about the community. And then you can tell that it's not show, because when you look at the library staff, exact same attitude. What can I do for the community? What can I do for the citizens? So I just wanted to share that, and I just wanted to shout out, use those library services. And when it's cold like this outside, think of our people in the water with the main breaks, think of our policemen, think of our firemen who are out, when we're snug in our bed and they're out on the streets making it happen. So thank you.
Anybody else have any other communications? I guess the only comment I would have is, since we talked about primary elections tonight, I just want to repeat that we are gonna have several elections on the city's positions this coming fall, 3 city council positions and a mayor's position. And I'd like to keep bringing that up because I really hope people that maybe never ran for public office before steps up to the plate and is willing to run. We really want to have proactive, positive people that go after these positions. We really don't want people that's got an axe to grind and continue that negativity that's in Ottumwa. So I would really just put that out there, that there could be several changes this next year for 2026. And I really hope we have several people come out and run for mayor and the 3 city council seats that we're gonna have open. I think some of the council might be willing to run again. I don't know for sure exactly what all their plans are, but I know I'm not gonna be running again for mayor. So I would just really encourage you to think about that. And if you've never been in public office, it's a good opportunity to provide some positive leadership for the city of Ottumwa. So I really hope people will continue to think about stepping up to the plate and perhaps running for city council or mayor. Does anybody have anything else?
Your Honor, I'd like to say thank you for the services you provided, even though you're still continuing, but won't be running again. I think you've done a really good job. You've represented us and the city very well. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, if there's no other communications, I would entertain a motion to adjourn our city council meeting.
To adjourn.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes. We are adjourned, and thank you, everybody, for
sticking with us and coming out on a cold winter's night.